This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton. The Washington-based consortium of investigative journalists reported on Sunday that current and former international leaders have amassed vast wealth and secret real estate holdings across the globe. The report was the result of work by hundreds of investigative journalists combing through millions of previously undisclosed documents known as the Pandora Papers. The Pandora Papers exposed the offshore holdings of 35 current and former world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, and Jordan's King Abdullah. The Washington Post, one of the news outlets that helped conduct the investigation, said the files included private emails, spreadsheets, contracts, and other records that revealed financial schemes and who was behind them. The documents showed that national leaders on 5 continents hid assets, often in other countries. Among the account owners are more than 130 people that Forbes magazine lists as billionaires, and more than 330 public officials in more than 90 countries and territories. Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel said Sunday that Germans must keep working for democracy as the country celebrated the 31st anniversary of the reunification of East and West. In what is expected to be one of her last major speeches, the outgoing chancellor said that mentally and structurally, unification hasn't been completed yet. 3 decades on, there remains a political and economic divide between Germany's formerly communist East and what was once called West Germany and backed by capitalist countries. From Washington, D.C., you're listening to VOA News. Georgia's ruling party won a commanding lead in a municipal election held a day after the arrest of former President Mikhail Saakashvili, who had returned from exile to support the opposition. The ruling Georgian Dream Party won 46.7% of the votes compared to 30% for Saakashvili's United National Movement, according to results released on Sunday by the country's elections authority. The Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe said in a statement that Saturday's local election had been, quote, marred by widespread and consistent allegations of intimidation, vote buying, pressure on candidates and voters, and an unlevel playing field, although it said candidates were able to campaign freely. The country of nearly 4 million people has faced a political standoff since a disputed election last year, which prompted the main opposition party to boycott parliament. Saturday's election was overshadowed by the return and arrest of Saakashvili, who had been living in exile and was convicted in absentia in 2018 of abuse of office. Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili said on Sunday that Saakashvili will serve his full term, which is 6 years in prison. A local government official in Nigeria has told Reuters that Boko Haram insurgents have taken over multiple communities in Nigeria's north-central Niger state, offering villagers money and incorporating them into their ranks to fight the government. The Islamist group is typically concentrated in the northeast of Africa's most populous nation, and its presence in Niger state, which borders the federal capital territory, could indicate a concerning spread at a time when the military says its counterinsurgency efforts are working. Boko Haram, whose name roughly translates as Western education is forbidden, has waged an insurgency since 2009. It has been bolstered more recently by its offshoot, Islamic State West Africa Province. The United Nations says the fighting has killed almost 350,000 people and displaced millions. France's military said Sunday Algeria has closed its airspace to French military planes, escalating the biggest row between the countries in years. On Saturday, Algeria recalled its ambassador to Paris, citing comments from French President Emmanuel Macron, who was quoted in Le Monde as saying Algeria's political military system had rewritten the history of its colonization by France based on what he called a hatred of France. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton. This is VOA News.